Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another Media Matters special for Anfield Index. It's been a bit of a crazy 24 hours, hasn't it, so far, ladies and gents? It's been a crazy window so far, despite what has and maybe hasn't happened today. And there's only one real man we can go to, the international man of mystery, new YouTube star, maybe the most active man I'm seeing in the Patch Journal area at the moment. It is Mr. Lewis Steele. And it's been a busy 24 hours for you, Mr. Steele. How are we?
It's been a very busy 24 hours. I was in the office yesterday doing some boring admin stuff, and then I got home and thought I'll do a live, and then I spoke for about an hour on YouTube Live, and then the second I got off the live, Fabrizio dropped a bomber that turned out to be not all true, but there we go.
Yeah, plenty to get into around the transfers. And there's one place to start, let's be honest. We'll get right into it, first of all. The main topic that everyone's talking about, and just in case, ladies and gents, you have been living under a rock, obviously we're talking about the recent developments around specifically Florian Wirtz. And just why I'm going to bring up that screen share for you, and at the same time, Lewis, give you a nice little plug for your YouTube channel as well. That's looking quite nice so far, isn't it? The graphics and different bits. So that's starting to work. For those that have missed it, the bomber came last night and then quite quickly was diffused by David Ornstein and different people. So I suppose the latest on this is really, are we just back where we were and we're just waiting?
Well, yeah, I think to start with, what I would say is Fabrizio obviously has very good sources, so I don't want to look like I'm completely shooting down his story because I'm sure that it is. There is some truth behind it, but I can only go off my information, and that is that the deal is not quite done yet, but I think it will be done soon. It's just not quite over the line yet. So I think basically where we are is Liverpool have made their bids and Leverkusen are just eking out every little bit of money that they can. And obviously can't really blame them. And I'm sure that they will both shake hands on a deal very soon. But as things stand at 12:30 on Wednesday, it's not quite done yet. So let's just wait and see what happens in the next few hours.
Closer than close as it may be. And according to reports, and obviously you'll be far better informed than us, it does seem to be little bits like the add-ons, whether they're achievable, whether they're even realistic. And like you said, Leverkusen trying to squeeze out every single penny. I mean, we are hoping this is kind of done for the weekend, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that's still the realistic outcome, that it will be done soon. But it's just taken a bit more time than maybe the fans would expect because it is a complex deal. It's Liverpool's record buy, it's Leverkusen's record sell. So they both want to be 100% sure that they've got as much out of it for both parties. But Liverpool have made 3 bids. The last one went in about a week ago. Apparently, that's not been officially rejected, but Leverkusen have asked for a little bit more, which to me sounds like it has been rejected. But there we go. Yeah, it is all about the add-ons, the bonuses, whatever. I think what is guaranteed is that Liverpool are going to pay a base fee of 100 million at least, and then the rest is done in bonuses. So the latest offer was about 14 million on top of the 100 million. I think what I heard on Sunday was that Leverkusen were holding out for something more, a package more towards 120 or the late teens pounds this is. And I think Liverpool will eventually get there. They're just in talks. More talks happened yesterday. I'm sure talks may even be happening as we speak. So I do think it'll happen soon, but it's just champagne corks can stay on for now. Put the champagne on ice for a few more hours.
Yeah, and then we'll get the second dopamine hit from the bomber. And you mentioned your live there. So before I go into some key details, which we're going to throw at you from your live, is it fair to say that the ultimate result of that live was Brand Barry 1, Steele 0?
Well, wait for my next YouTube video where Brand Barry may feature, not him personally, but you'll have to wait and see on that. I've recorded it earlier and I put it out at some point this afternoon. It's a Wirtz update, but it's basically just what I just said to you, which probably shouldn't say because now no one will watch it. But there we go. But yeah, Barry probably had me on toast last night, but I did block him, so maybe it's 1-1.
Yeah, maybe wise advice for everyone over Barry there, but we'll see what happens on that when that comes out this afternoon. So let's just start throwing them out there at stuff you mentioned yesterday, just in case people have missed it. Liverpool have made a signing this week, a young kid, I believe it's pronounced Pesci, the goalkeeper, the Hungarian. The noise around it, and you mentioned this as well, the club are quite positive about this. I know it's not a headline grabber, but they're happy they've got this one in, aren't they?
Yeah, I've spoke to a few people on Pesci, or however you say it, and I've only had glowing responses. So I think Liverpool are quite happy with the deal that they've managed to pull off for him. Quite cheap in the grand scheme of things, 1.5 million, I think. And he looks like a real one for the future. I think obviously patience will be required because he's not going to get into the first team straight away. But it's a bit like not quite the same as when they bought Kelleher because he was a bit younger, but it is similar in terms of, they're buying one of the best young goalkeepers on the market and they're going to improve him themselves at Liverpool. Maybe he'll have a loan along the way as well. But yeah, I spoke to a guy in Hungary yesterday and he said, this kid means business. He's really, really good. So we'll have to see on that, but only glowing responses to people that I've asked about him.
Which is a good sign. And one person who would have got a glowing response is Vítězslav Jaros from Johnny Heitinga, who's moved to Ajax. And I'm guessing we're all expecting that loan to happen as well at some point.
Yeah, I mean, the information I have is that Ajax like him, so it doesn't necessarily mean he's definitely going there. But I think he will be going out on loan definitely this season. He obviously won the Austrian League and in his last loan, and then was the third choice keeper for a year. Played away at Palace when Kelleher got injured. Or was it Alisson that got injured? I can't remember. One of them. Kelleher might have been ill that day. I can't remember. But he played once, or in the league at least. Played in the cup at least once, maybe twice. Can't remember. And he's a decent keeper. So I think obviously if he's playing for Ajax for a year, his value is only going to go up. So even if he doesn't make it Liverpool, then they will hope that in the future they may be able to sell him for a decent fee. But yeah, Ajax are obviously one of the clubs that we know are interested, but as far as I'm aware, different clubs are lurking as well. So we'll see on Jaros, but yeah, it seems like he's going out on loan, and then maybe Pesci will be the third choice keeper. Obviously, there's Harvey Davis as well, but I know that he went out on loan to Crewe and didn't really do that well, as far as I'm aware. But obviously, he was only young, so maybe things have changed since then.
Yeah, we'll have to see what develops on that front. And another one that's filling up the chat panel, you knew I was going to ask you about Milos Kerkez, because that's the other one it feels like is closest. It also seems that from reports, Bournemouth have got their replacement, or they're set to get their replacement left back as well. So is this another still when, not if?
Yeah, this is still when, not if. It's just, again, it's just time and patience is urged from me. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, Liverpool and Bournemouth, both they're gonna do a deal. Basically, it's just a matter of when. But yeah, I think Liverpool have relaxed on the when element because they know that he's going to be their player soon. So I think it's all nothing to worry about on Kerkez either. I might maybe developments this week, but maybe it's one for next week. I'm not sure.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It'd be nice to get to over the line soon, but maybe that's just being greedy. And you kind of alluded to it in your YouTube as well. There's good character references going forward for Kerkez, isn't there? There's good references from various people around him and Bournemouth.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoke to a few people. I've got a piece ready for when he signs, and I'll do a YouTube video when he signs with a few of them voices that I've spoken to, quoted. And as I said with Pesci, like no one's had a bad word to say about him. But the thing about Kerkez, everyone talks about his attitude in a good way, in terms of he's just so focused on football. He's such a nice lad to have around the group. Someone said to me, like, he's not going to come in and be quiet and settle in slowly like you would in any job that you just start. He's going to come in and be like not like he's going to be like boisterous or whatever, but like he's going to come in and, you know, be part of the group straight away. That's just the sort of character he is. And they said like the competition with Robertson's only going to elevate his game. So
nice.
Let's see. But everything that I've heard on Kerkez is good, and he's obviously very young. His stats are good. I've got some stats like comparing him and Robbo last season, and their sort of key stats. And Kerkez, they're quite even, to be honest. Kerkez just coming out on top, but obviously there's the factor that one of them plays for Bournemouth, so he's not as much of the ball and stuff like that. So,
which is a nice, to be fair, for a 21-year-old to be putting up those stats already is a good sign. And a few asking there, like Malcolm, any striker news? We will get to strikers in the attacking line soon. But another left back and young left backs, Jarell Hato at Ajax. It sounds like, if we heard it right, as the head coach trumped the captain on this for why we're going for Kerkez.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that is technically like everything that's gone on, but I was just going off what people have told me, and someone in Holland said like Van Dijk absolutely loves him, but Slot preferred Kerkez in terms of the profile of players. Nothing against Hato, but obviously he was one of the players that Liverpool weighed up for that left back signing. But it just appears that Kerkez is the main one. So let's say that.
Yeah, and we're all expecting that to happen soon enough. And strikers wise, it is right to talk about that because, I mean, fingers crossed, very soon we've got a left back, a right back, or someone who can play across the right, and a superstar through the door, which then will lead people to talk about, rightly, sales. But the next incoming after that, and I know you've alluded to this, feels like there's going to be a real focus on that number 9 position, doesn't there?
Yeah, I think after Wirtz and Kerkez are wrapped up, they still have what's the word? They're still weighing up strikers and defenders as well. So I don't think that the door's going to be completely shut on transfers after them to arrive. But obviously they will have to sell some players to fund it because, as I've said on here before, after them two, they're going to have spent over 200 mil. So they can't just keep going and going. They will have to sell some players as well first, and then maybe they'll look for a number 9, because I think that was one of the priorities going into this window. Obviously, Isak is the golden target, but it just seems a bit. I can't see them being able to afford both him and Wirtz in the same window. So maybe it's a case of someone else. Ekitike obviously costs a lot of money as well. So it's not going to be easy to sign a striker, but I think they definitely will try.
Will be interesting to see what quality. And I suppose for strikers going the other way, David Ornstein mentioned Al Hilal making an inquiry for Darwin, which I think people probably wanted a bit sooner, and it's not going to be, or it's definitely not going to be in time for the Club World Cup now. But I know you've alluded to this, isn't it? It seems that the noise from Nunez's camp or around the player is he does want to stay in Europe is more likely.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talks there's been a lot of noise on Nunez for a few months now in terms of the Saudis. But no, I don't think many people have actually stopped to think, like, what does Darwin want to do? And, you know, I think it's right. He would probably prefer to stay in Europe. Atletico have been mentioned. I think a couple of Serie A clubs as well. I think Napoli was maybe Inter, I can't remember, have been linked with Nunes. So I think it's almost certain that he does leave this summer, but only if Liverpool get the right money, and they do seem to want about 65, 70 million for him. Obviously, they rejected an approach in January because they wanted to keep him for the rest of the title running. But now I think it does seem like the right time for Nunes to leave, and I think that I'd be surprised if he doesn't leave. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think we'd all be astonished in that regard. But I suppose the other South American forward, and I mean, he scored an absolute banger for Colombia last night, didn't he, against Argentina, almost a dribble from around the halfway line. Luis Diaz, this seems one where there's three players in this mix, isn't there? There's Liverpool, of course, there's Barcelona, and it seems like the Saudis, Al Nassr being the club. This one just feels like it could be a complicated one this summer.
Yeah, I think Liverpool want to keep him unless the money that they get for him is absolutely huge. So but I did a video the other day basically saying, is that the end of the story? And I'm not sure it is, but I think Barcelona obviously came in for him last week. I can't remember what day it was. Last Wednesday, I want to say. And Liverpool basically told them to go away. But obviously the Saudis are keen as well. So let's just keep our eye on that one. But as it stands, I would expect Diaz to be staying at Liverpool this summer.
Yeah, it does feel like there is going to be more to the tale. And I got a bit of hope when I saw this clip that someone sent me of more to the tale. Ibu Konate, because it kind of gone quiet. But if I've seen this clip and heard you right on YouTube last night, there may be positive vibes. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I mean, what I said was a month ago or 2 months ago, I was actually leaning towards, based on vibes rather than information, I was leaning towards Konate leaving. Just in terms of the fact that Real Madrid were lurking, there'd been no progress on his deal. I think some people went quite big on the fact that he had opened talks, but there'd been no, as far as I was aware at the time, talks had been open, but nothing for a few months. Konate said to us in the mixer, and he was going to, how much he loves Liverpool. His agent was going to speak to Liverpool and try and get a deal over the line for a new deal. So I would just say now my vibes are more that because he said how much he loves the club, my vibes are more that he would look to extend. But it's still there's still uncertainty looming over his future for now. But I think Liverpool will want to have a bit more of a certainty on it by the end of the summer window.
Yeah, it's dangerous to run that into the final year. So we'll see what happens on that one. And I suppose I'm going to fire a load of the younger players at the club just to sort of get the take on their situations. Harvey Elliott, I mean, links with Bundesliga clubs, Premier League clubs. He did that interview, and I know it was almost embargo that you broke as well there, that I think that just the expectation from his tone and what we're hearing, it's probably expected that he departs. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a few of these players now who are leaning towards leaving. I think obviously Elliott and Morton and I'm not sure on Doak, but like the two first lads I mentioned in terms of the England under 21s, they both sort of said they think it's probably time for them to move on. Obviously, Elliott's more high profile and would command a decent fee for Liverpool, I think. But I think, I think especially with Wirtz coming in, I can't really see Elliott sticking around for too much longer. It'll be a shame for him because he obviously loves the club, loves playing for Liverpool. But as he said, he can't afford to be wasting years of his career. And fair enough, he only gets one career. He doesn't want to look back when he's 40 odd and think, I spent half my career sat on the bench. So I think he will leave. I think Tyler Morton will leave. And then obviously Ben Doak, obviously club's interested. So let's see what happens on him. And then there's obviously a few more youngsters as well who could be on the way out this summer.
Yeah, it does feel like a fair few will depart. But I suppose the other youngster I did want to talk about, we should maybe said as a pathway, it seems, and the noises are positive around him. I might be pronouncing this wrong, but Rio and Goma seems there's a lot of hype at the club around this kid, and it's right to be excited about him.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going back to when he first signed for Liverpool about a year ago, spoke to someone at Chelsea who basically said, like, he's the most talented kid I've ever seen. And, you know, he's really impressed Liverpool coaches in his first year. Obviously, they have to be careful with him. He's very young. They want to keep him out of the spotlight if they can, but he's already made his first team debut, probably, I would say, ahead of schedule, ahead of time. Maybe within the next 2 years, he can be hoping to be, you know, fully fledged member of the first team squad, being on the bench, playing in the cups. He's really, really highly rated. He's a raw talent, so there's a lot of improvement to be done in terms of his end product and, you know, his work rate off the ball and stuff. But I think as a raw talent, he's really, really good. So maybe he's one to watch if he goes on the tour. That would be quite nice to see.
Yeah, definitely will be good to see him get minutes in the Far East. We'll see if that happens. And I suppose the final bit is right to talk about staff more than players a little bit, because Johnny Heitinger's gone. It seems like Dirk Kuyt's agent ruled him out. There's no real names at this new assistant role at the moment who seem front runners.
No, there's not. But this time last year, I remember the Heitinger one came out of nowhere as well. I think I did that story at the time. Someone just texted me in the morning basically saying, Heitinger's going to be the new assistant manager and Aaron Briggs is coming with him as well. So it just came out of nowhere, and I think that may happen here as well. I think like someone will just, it might even be someone you've not heard of, just comes out of the blue, and the next day they're Liverpool's assistant manager. So it is quiet on that, and I probably should try and find out, but I'm not really sure how to go about doing that at the moment. But I'll try and do some digging in the next few days to get a more thingy answer on it.
Nice. Well, if you've got someone's phone number, and this is one person whose deal we should talk about, because there's a few suggestions around this. The main man, Arne Slot. Is there hope? Is there an expectation? Maybe I'm willing it into existence, but everyone wants to hear there's an extension, a new deal in line for him.
Yeah, I mean, based on vibes rather than information, again, I would say yes, he will be signing a new deal at some point in the near future. I think that he wants it, and I think Liverpool want it. And, you know, I think that's quite an obvious thing to say, really. I think, yeah, he will end up signing a new deal, and his agent will be in the process of trying to sort that one out. So maybe something more concrete on that in the next month or two, but let's see. But I think that one will happen. It's just a case of when.
Fingers crossed on that. Yeah, if all this gets done, it could be a hell of a summer coming, ladies and gents. We'll see if we build to this. And speaking of build to this, there's a little bit of a surprise segment for Lewis, because we threw the end of season special at him this time, but now it's a patch journo special questions. And you can verify, Lewis, you have not seen these, you've not been pre-briefed, you don't know what's coming fully, do you?
I have no idea. I'm quite scared I might run away.
Well, before you go, there's a fair few to ask, so let's get right into it. And always key to remember that the focus is going to be it's your patch journalist colleagues or Liverpool related. So the first question, from the patch journalist colleagues that you have, a fight breaks out in a bar. Who do you want with you?
Oh, wow. I would have to say, I reckon Paul Ghost is a good fighter. He's a big lad, tall.
Yeah.
I could see him getting some nice uppercuts on the go. I remember we were in a bar in Philly last year, and I was stood next to him and looking up at him like that. So I would go with Ghosty. I'd back him. Obviously, all of them, I reckon, could pack a punch. Lynchy as well. Lynchy, I always think he gives off vibes of having a black belt in Taekwondo. I don't know if that's true because of what we know about his knee warmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe not Lynchy, actually.
We'll see. I tell you what, there could be a pay-per-view there for all these. And speaking of all these names and pay-per-view, if it's yourself, Paul Joyce, Ian Doyle, Gorsty, David Lynch going into Big Brother, who's winning?
Wow. Doyley, definitely. Doyley's a multi-talented man who can do a bit of everything, but he cracks dad jokes at a rate of like I've never seen anyone before it. And I think Doyley would win. He would have the nation on his side early doors. I reckon he'd win I'm a Celebrity as well. I reckon I could see him eating some dodgy stuff. Although the last meal I had with him actually was in Paris, where I ate a dodgy steak. So yeah, but I'd go Doyley winning Big Brother.
Wow, that's a call. There's some big names missing out there as well. And I don't know if it's going to be the same answer for this. If it sounds like you're going for a steak together, someone rings you today and says, let's go for a pint. Which one are you most likely to say yes to?
Ooh. Well, the person I've spent the most time with in the pub is Paul Gomes, so it's probably him. Our flight back from Leipzig got cancelled, and we had to get the train to Berlin and kill about 12 hours, and
Nice.
at least 11 of those hours were sat in the pub, and many more hours on the tour last summer and the other Champions League away days this season. But we were doing lots of work, of course, but some of it was from the pub. So if any of my bosses are hearing this, I do a lot of work on them trips, but maybe just from the pub sometimes. But yeah, Ghosty.
Wow, bet there's some incriminating footage somewhere there. Be interesting. And obviously, it sounds like Ghosty's talented in that regard. But from all your colleagues, and I'm sure you admire them all for like the different styles, what they do across the various mediums, is there any that you think they're really like, I wish I could write as well as them, or YouTube? Is there anyone you really admire from the pack?
Well, I'm sort of the new one on the pack, really. So I've done it for 2 seasons now, but when I started, I had to, find my own feet and stuff. So I looked up to all of them really in terms of, different aspects. There's some of them who are good at writing the sort of longer articles. There's some of them who are good at breaking the news stories. There's some of them who are good at the video stuff and the social stuff. So I'll probably wing it slightly because I don't want to offend any of them, but I'll say I looked up to all of them, and they've all been a good help really as well. They're all good lads, and Beth as well, who's the Beth Lindop, who's the one who's now younger than me on the patch at ESPN. She's very good as well. So they're all very, very nice people, all very good journalists as well. So I've learned a bit from all of them.
Nice. Although that was too much of a politician's answer.
It was, yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll try again with this one. We'll go for a second one. Which one would you least like to be stuck in a lift with?
Oh, wow. Least like to be stuck in a lift. I'd like to be stuck in a lift with lots of them. Maybe I'll just have to go Doyley again, because although his dad jokes are good, sometimes I think if I was stuck in a lift, you'd be a bit stressed and you'd be like, just give it a rest for a minute. He'd be making puns about lifts and stuff. So sorry, Mr. Ian Doyle, but I wouldn't like to be in a lift with you.
Fair enough. There's a full rationale there. And I've actually got a few on grounds, which will be interesting, because I think if you ask this about behind the scenes, from all the Premier League away days you've been on this season, best scran, where are we going?
Best scran, wow. Well, I think Spurs is by far the best media scran. It's absolutely unbelievable. I can't remember if it was this season or last, but they did a banging Sunday roast.
Wow.
There's some. They're all okay. Villa's all right. City did a good breakfast when we were at the Etihad. Where else is there? Southampton is good, actually. I'll miss that one next season. Leicester as well. Ipswich, first day of the season, did a banging full English before 12:30 kickoff. Most of them are all right, to be fair. Palace is okay. There's some bad ones, but I won't go through the bad ones in case I get in trouble, because it is all free at the end of the day.
Yeah, you don't want to burn your bridges for next season's away. That's important to say. And this one, if you are going away and you're stopping at the services, so you're planning your route ahead, what food are you looking for at your services? You will usually stop at a what?
I would always go for KFC. I love fried chicken. I can't get enough of it. And normally, say you've been to, I don't know, let's say you've gone to one of the London aways, you're driving down the M1 or the M6 on the way back. You've probably not eaten since before the game, so you're probably starving. So KFC, and when you're driving down the motorway, and it sort of advertises what's at the services like a mile in advance. And if it's not got a KFC, I'll drive on to the next one. And then when I see it's got one, I give it a little fist pump.
Well, that's celebration of all the things. There you go. 2 left on this, and they've not been too bad so far. This is interesting, but you have to put your sort of colours to the mast on this one. For all the pieces, content, whatever it's been from your colleagues, what would you say is the best piece of media or article that you've seen this season?
Wow. I think some of the pieces that Joycey does are amazing, and the same with James Pearce as well. Both of them. I mean, everyone's done good pieces. I think some of the stuff, like maybe like the early season stuff about what Slot's like behind the scenes, they were really interesting pieces. I think a lot of the sort of long reads after the season with like some of the secrets of Slot's success, they were really good. So yeah, I think some of the like long reads that James and Paul Joyce have done have been really good. I think some of the new stuff that the Echo lads have done has been good as well. And Lynchy's Substack is very good. So, but yeah, I mean, there's loads of good stuff out there. Really, you're spoiled for choice with Liverpool. Like if you say you followed a club like, I don't know, Brentford or whatever, you'd normally only have like 1 or 2 guys covering the club, whereas Liverpool, we've got like about 10 people who cover them on a full-time basis. So, which makes my job a bit harder because you're always sort of it's in a congested market. Like I know whatever I put out, there'll be like 5 or 6 different pieces along similar lines. So you've got to try, and my thing is always try and make it slightly different, slightly try and get a fresh angle on it or a fresh voice on whatever. But there's loads and loads of good Liverpool content to read on the websites and papers, whatever.
There you go. And that'll probably be the Brentford staff spitting in your burger next season as well. But a full detailed answer there. And the final one, famous for the mix zone. If any player or staff member would give you a token where you say, ask me anything and I'll give you honest answers for 5 minutes, who are you cashing it in with?
Wow. Well, for most of last season, I would have said one of the contract 3 because it would have been great to, just cash in my token, get a nice little juicy news story out of one of them. I think obviously Salah's the most high-profile player at the club, and he very rarely ever speaks. So it would be great to have 5 minutes with Salah where he speaks openly and honestly. So I think I'll have to go with Mo for that one.
Good shout, although that's probably why it is a complete pie in the sky, because no one's getting 5 minutes with Mo Salah, no matter what the desires are. So we'll see. But there we go. We have answered all your questions around transfers, contracts. We've answered all your questions around patch journalists. So all it leaves me to say, for full insight, honesty, transparency, and mainly defending a lot of your colleagues, it's got to be said, Mr. Lewis Steele, it is greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much for having me on again. It's been good fun, as ever.
Good stuff. And ladies and gents, that was another Media Matters for Anfield Index.